The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is leveraging mobility to bring processes closer to customer. Our guest speaker today is Ritesh Verma. He is the AVP Consulting Practice, Europe, Middle East and Africa at Newgen Softwares. With more than 15 years of rich experience in the BFSI industry across APAC and Europe, Middle East and Africa regions, Ritesh has been actively involved in consulting banks and financial institutions for maximizing their ROI and streamlining businesses processes through a mix of technical and competitive insights. Ritesh joined Newgen Software in 1999 and has been instrumental in developing their ECM and BPM markets across various geographies, orchestrating new channels of market development and customer engagement. Working closely with many of the Newgen's 140-plus banking customers, he brings extensive knowledge in the field of banking operations, technology, and operational excellence in the BFSI domain. Currently, Ritesh is working aggressively to get inroads into technically advanced markets such as Turkey, where continuous innovation is the key. So, without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Ritesh.
Thanks for the wonderful introduction, Aradhana. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, depending on the locations you're joining in from. I wouldn't waste much time. I think Aradhana has set the tone quite clearly. We'll be talking about aspects around mobility and how it is enabling institutions to bring their processes closer to the customer. So I guess any discussion around mobility is incomplete without mention of these three apples. The first ones, perhaps, the first two we could perhaps take up some time later. I guess the core focus would remain on what I think Apple Inc. as an organization has revolutionized in today's world with all the iPhones, iPads, etc., which essentially has also impacted the way we interact with our service providers, whether it is a bank, whether it is our the retail shopping mart. And this, of course, we have also seen in how the convergence is happening in technology and how it has happened. If you see from the 80s and 90s, when we had those huge desktops, to the current generation where we are talking tablets, very sleek laptops, and are getting into smarter television with everything on our fingertips. And it is happening quite fast, faster than ever, I would say, right? And this, of course, when put into the context of the markets and the user engagement, it shows there is a huge potential out there. Of course, if you see this graph, which is on their screens, the typical candidates, of course, are the brick ones. And this forms the backbone of what we'll be, of course, talking about, today, later in the slides. The potential is huge to engage users, okay, with the convergence and the technology changes happening in the area of mobility. And mobility, with all the advancements which has happened last decade or so, I would say, it is no longer, I think, optional. It is no longer, I think, mobile is not just about business. I think it is becoming an imperative. Particularly, I would take your couple of seconds onto this graph. Percentage of professionals who use mobile banking. And as you would see, the percentage is quite high in the age group of those in 18 to 24. And it is this age group which is kind of going to drive it in future. It is this age group which will become 20 to 25 to 34, so on and so forth, right? So if I, as an institution, am not ready to support this age group by providing them the services through mobility, then I'm in for some serious concern. I need some serious introspection. And if you see the spendings, of course, there have been a lot of research around that period on this, but roughly projected to reach around 1.3 trillion by 2015, and which represents 35% of the technology economy. 35% is a huge number by any means. And I think it is a no-brainer. I mean, mobile is becoming the new face of engagement. And this, of course, presents a lot of opportunity in the area of operational excellence. I would say mobility and other e-channels combined. And if I take a banking institution with 100 branches and 250 ATMs, a nominal size one, I mean, in countries like India, it is of course a very small bank. I mean, we are talking about banks having 3,000 branches, or SBI, which is one of the largest, having 10,000 plus. So from that perspective, the example we are taking is of a, let us say, small to medium sized bank. But even for that size, if the bank is able to reroute 20% of the branch transactions and to its mobile or the alternate channels. Mobile, of course, becomes the forefront because of the engagement graphs we saw previously. So even if we are able to reroute 20% of those, we are talking 5 to 6 million in savings. Besides, of course, the software advantages like customer experience and convenience. And what it also helps, which of course we haven't kind of monetized that, is the branch employees can then focus more on the advisory type of services and of course cross-selling. I mean, there was a research by Booz and Company which talked about that if we typically the branch sales people spend anywhere between 40 to 60% in the typical back office activities or these transactional activities. So if you are able to take those out, essentially we are talking another 20%, 25% free time, and this obviously reflects into revenue for the banks. And talking of some of the research around this area, I am reproducing a Gartner research here. And on the left side, we have the business priorities, and the right side, technology. So mobile technologies, of course, is right among the top 3. But if we kind of correlate the business ones, these again are in the area of innovation, delivering operational results, or enterprise growth. So all these things are actually converging, and that's what I would say drives the technology priorities. So mobile is definitely mobile technologies, and the investments around it and the usage around this is definitely there at the top. So it is not something that people are just only planning about. A lot of them, of course, are executing it. So what are the next generation banks basically doing or trying to do through mobile-based innovations? Of course, first and foremost is the customer experience side of it. We'll of course talk about field origination and customer onboarding, of course, later in the presentation also. But yes, it is basically about helping the customer, onboarding the customer at his convenience, whenever he wants, wherever he wants. Then of course it gets into the self-service teller operations, or what we are calling paperless teller operations. Or from the perspective of your HNI customers, it could just simply, we're talking about triggering an alert to your branch manager as soon as the HNI perhaps walks in, and the branch managers goes and greets him with his name and kind of, offers the what we call the privilege services. Beyond the customer experience side of it, of course, it extends the reach unimaginably. Okay, and from the mobile payment perspective, I guess a lot of us are aware of M-Pesa and the way it has helped the Kenyan financial industry become cash light. M-Pesa has been widely kind of accepted there, and of course it adds to the convenience. You need not really worry about rushing to the ATM every now and then. So where Newgen comes in is, we of course have been helping the bank, and our core objective as an institution is helping the bank in operational excellence, and we have been working in this areas across different applications. The latest one, the mobile capture one, which we are talking about, is a step in this direction. So traditionally, if we go a few years back, when we would submit our application forms or for loan or opening an account, and it will take another 2-3 days to, anywhere between, let's say, a week to 2-3 days at least, to reach to the head office, and then the processing starts, and then of course you'll get your account numbers and other details in due course of time. So while of course, if I look at how it has come down operationally, we were 10 years back we were talking 7 days, now we talk perhaps some hours, but with mobility we are talking minutes now, right? And it is almost instant, and that's what in today's scenario, and that age group which we talked about of 18 to 24 is people are looking at. It's just the era of instant gratification, as we call it. So Zap-In is the solution Newgen has come up with, which of course not just helps in kind of onboarding, but also helps in a lot of teller operations, a lot of request handling of those kinds. Okay, so it could be viewed as, of course, we're talking about an app on the customer mobile, and they initiating requests from the comfort of their home or office or wherever they are, or the bank's own sales staff kind of approaching them, okay, and initiating requests on the go. And of course, from the teller perspective, it could be there in your branches and make your transactions at least paper light, if not completely paperless. And of course, it adds on to the customer experience bit of it. And more importantly, it of course cuts across different product segments for the banking sector, and in the back end, of course, integrated with the back office applications. It also cuts into your KYC. We are talking about eKYC and self-service onboarding now. So it can be integrated well with your signature pads, your biometric devices for fingerprinting, etc. We of course have. Now the iPhone comes with the biometric features. So we of course can extend it in terms of KYC. Lot many banks are talking about actually capturing biometric details these days, particularly from the security perspective on that. So how does it works? Basically, it could work, of course, multiple ways, but we're talking about the CRM typically, or your core systems or your BPM applications, generating the leads and assigning the leads to the field agents, and it kind of pops up on the screens of that field agent that a given customer on a given location is interested in a particular product. The field agent in turn would approach the customer on his Zap-In application, fill his form on the go, capture the supporting documents, and to ensure first time right approach, he can capture the data on the tablet. So from data accuracy perspective, it helps a lot. Images, of course, is one of Nugent's strength area from technology perspective. And to make optimum use of, to make this technology run better, work better, we of course do things like image compression, improving the image quality, black and white conversions, so that of course the upload is faster and the documents are workable. And after the initiation, of course, it gets into a workflow with Nugent, of course, provides the BPM-based onboarding process. So it, from a solution perspective, it comes completely integrated from the front end and the back end. And in the back office, you would, of course, have the operators receiving the captured documentations, and they can have a quick checking and processing of the documentation. And the back office of the user can quickly have a status update, whether it is successfully accepted or it is partially rejected, and notify the agent accordingly. So and all of this, of course, happens within few minutes. Okay. So you could be talking to the customer face to face, right? Interview him, upload his documents, and while you are, of course, having this conversation with the customer, you can get the status as to whether the request was successfully accepted or not. And in case you need any additional documentation or information, you could seek it then and there. The BPM-based backbone for the of course, provides us the MIS details, okay, for back office performance improvement perspective, monitoring perspective. So you have reports like average processing time, checking user compare. You can have user comparison reports. You can have which are the pending work items, at what level they are pending, so on and so forth. And you can, of course, go about designing your own reports on the tool. So some snapshots of different reports which we have designed. Now, besides onboarding, as I said, this is also getting into paperless teller operations. And we can have a scenario where a customer walks in,
Ritesh, there's an problem at your end. Can you please check? Your voice is not audible. We are facing a little technical issue. I think the speaker's voice just got disconnected. We would be back online. Give us a moment, please.
#213. Hello.
Hello, Ritesh. Can you hear me?
Yes, Aradhana, I can.
All right. Can we quickly shift the presentation rights to you?
Yes, please.
I'm making you the presentation. Have you gone to the slideshow mode?
Yes, I am on this. Just a second. एक second.
Yes, I have given you the presenter rights. Did you receive the notification?
Yes, I have. Just a minute. 20 से हमने छोड़ा था ना? Slide number 20.
Yes, slide number 20. So you have to restart it from the 20 itself.
Yes, I have. Can you see the screen?
Not yet. We are waiting for your screen to upload. Yes. You can please start the session.
Right. Should I?
Yes, please proceed.
Ratna, can I start?
Yes, you can start, Ritesh.
My apologies, everyone. Yeah, my apologies, everyone, for the break we had. Just a bit of technical issues here. So I guess we were on slide 20 when the connection dropped. So we of course talked about the paperless teller operations. Moving on to the next slide, the check deposits on the phone is increasingly becoming one of the sought after things. This is already a mandate in the Americas, and we had stats from The Economist, which stated JP Morgan customers having deposited 10 million checks by taking pictures of them rather than visiting a branch. So you could imagine the kind of convenience that offered. And from branch operation perspective and operational efficiency perspective, this is 10 million less footfalls, of course, so less cost for processing those requests. Banks, of course, are using it to deliver greater real-time access to products. So we are essentially talking intelligent analytics, and it could be offering discounts or complimentary services on the go. You know, I could have tweeted I am in US, or I'm thinking of buying a car, and pop comes in an SMS from my bank that we are happy to offer you auto loan at a reduced rate, something like that. So, and where this is of course coming from is bringing in the analytics part of it together, and the convergence of analytics, process automation, and mobility together. So banks are also talking about establishing relationships with manufacturers or retailers. You know, retailers typically would have a very unidimensional data about their customers. However, if you look at the banking side of it and the kind of view they have on their customers' behavior, it is immense. I use my card to buy at grocery as well as the laptop as well as my shoes. So the kind of buying patterns, kind of information which my bank has is of course immense, and they can really use it for better targeted marketing campaigns, better targeted discounts, okay. And of course, if let us say this retailer and my banker tie up, of course they have a huge pool of knowledge which they can use. And with things like QR code, etc. coming in, we are talking about pinpointing physical locations to making relevant offers to the customers, okay, having tailored advertising. So it is no longer generic, you know, and it takes the behavioral and purchase analytics to the next level and talks about on-the-go offers. And it of course has elements of the intelligent business process management into it, which of course Newgen provides. Among the early adopters, we of course have ICICI Bank, which is one of Newgen's major customers overall. And the key business drivers which perhaps drove this initiative was the customer experience part of it, then the reduced operational cost, and quite importantly, the exceptions and the first time right. You know, a lot of times, you know, let us say if the bank agent was filling up the form for me, instead of writing Ritesh as RIDESH, he may do a spelling mistake, and then it becomes a huge cycle to change my name in the banking records. With this thing, the mobile capture device, capturing of data, documents together, has increased the first time right to a large extent. In terms of the deployment, the bank has deployed it for close to 7,000 customer reps. And the benefits, of course, turnaround time is of course a no-brainer. It has reduced from 4 days to less than 24 hours. In fact, we are talking minutes essentially. Has a huge impact on the training, okay, which has come down from 15 days to 2 days. Scanning courier costs have drastically come down, and since it is seamlessly integrated with core, so overall operation end-to-end becomes seamlessly automated. And from customer experience perspective, of course, people have really appreciated this initiative. This, of course, has been awarded in various forums, including the Asian BFSI Awards. And you might just have noticed, especially those of us joining in from India, the recent TV commercials with Amitabh Bachchan endorsing it. It's the same solution we're talking about. And beyond the ICICI, we have customers across the Caribbean. We have customers in Middle East, some of the countries in West Africa, and in Asia Pacific. Majorly, these are banks, but you would see there's Bupa, which is an insurance company, L&T Finance, which is into the finance, not really a banking side of it, but more on the lending and NBFC kind of roles, and an insurance company in Qatar. So with that, I end my presentation, and I kind of invite the questions. Hello, Paradna.
Yes, Ritesh. Can you please go to the questions tab?
Yes, sure. Just a second.
Yeah, please. Are you able to see it?
Yes, so we have 2 questions, I believe.
Yeah, we have lost few of the questions during the transition process.
Right. So anyways, I'll take up the questions sequentially. We have this question from Ajay Arora, which says, the question is, CRM nowadays already offers solutions on mobile, so how is Zap-In different? CRM, of course, I mean, Ajay, it is more onto the data and the analytics part of it, right? Zap-In, if you would have noticed, comes more from the operational part of it, how I can make my operations paperless and faster. So essentially we could be talking about integrating Zap-In to the CRM and leveraging on the information which perhaps CRM offers. So I took the example of the lead generation, and which could be kind of popped to the sales agents. So with that, they can kind of, it brings together, Zap-In brings together the integration perspective, the image document capture perspective, document upload perspective, and of course we talked about certain imaging functionalities being built in, and then it ties into a workflow. Okay, traditionally CRM would perhaps stop at giving you certain information about the customer from lead generation perspective, but it would not perhaps go into the back end as to how the processing workflow gets initiated. So Zap-In comes from that perspective. So I hope that answers the question. If you have, of course, please feel free to kind of write back. The next question I'm taking is from Manas, and which is that, do you think there will be a day when no need of cash, all the transactions can be done through M-Pesa? Well, I think a lot of this has to do with the demographics, right? Because all said and done, we have seen M-Pesa being successful primarily in Kenya only. I mean, if I look at within the African context as well, there have been other countries who have been trying to go to the same model, but they haven't achieved that level of success. So depending on the specific demographic of the country, it may become cash light. I mean, the countries may become cash light, but at least, yeah, in next 5 to 10 years domain, I don't see all transactions being done through a tool like M-Pesa. It, of course, depending on how well a country and its regulators go about it, it can really be an effective tool from that angle. I hope that kind of answers your question. The next question I am taking is from Ganesh, which says, what are the primary mobile platforms targeted by the banking segment for the Indian customers? In Indian context, there have been, of course, a lot of research going around, so you could refer to them. But yes, it's primarily been Android. Android, I think, if we look at Indian market, we are talking about close to Android having close to 75% of the market share. So it is by far has been the platform of choice. But yes, you can't really ignore the people on iOS, and Windows of late has been kind of gaining a lot of ground. So essentially any solution which has to kind of come to which one has to offer to the these banks, and the banks have to offer to their customers, have to take into consideration all the major ones, major platforms which are there, I would say, and one has to look at Android, iOS, as well as Windows. In present context, of course, Android rules the roost by far. Next question is from Vigneshwaran. What tool you use to test these apps? I perhaps have to get back to you later. This, of course, we have, of course, in our internal testing teams which are dedicated for their this particular role, right? Besides that, unfortunately, I don't have specifics of the tools they use for testing it. The other question I'm taking is from Deepak, which is about other than banking and insurance domain, which domain is using this kind of mobility. We have the non-banking financial institutions also using it, particularly who are those of them working in the area of financial inclusion, okay, microfinancing and lending part of it. Then you have logistics companies, of course, using it. Then beyond that, of course, there are people who are testing waters in things like aerospace or healthcare. But the major adoption so far, what we have observed is it remains in overall BFSI. It could be pure play banking sector or a non-banking financial player. And logistics, we have seen of late is increasing its adoption of similar technologies. The next question I would take, I'm taking is Ganesh Iyer, and his question is, how does leveraging mobility affect the balance sheet? What are tangible benefits of investing in mobility for a banking industry in specific? See, from the operations perspective, I think there are very immediate gains. It really kind of frees up a lot of your banking, the branch operations, the over-the-counter transactions as well, particularly from especially things like account opening and account maintenance requests, right? Then, of course, among the non-tangible side of it gives the free time which the branches would get essentially can be used in, as I said, in advisory sales kind of functions, okay, which of course, you know, could be high margin stuff for the banks, right? And there have been, of course, research from McKinsey's and Booz, and the figure they put particularly in terms of the time wasted in branch operations is anywhere between 40 to 60%. So even if we are able to reduce it by, let us say, 10 to 15%, I think one can very well imagine the benefits, one from cost reduction perspective and second from the revenue perspective. Ajay has asked that can we please mail the presentations. I'll ask my marketing team to kind of work on this. Ajay, that was from Ajay Arora. Then there is this question from Praveen Rumane, which is, can we use Zap-In application on another platform, Windows and Apple? Yes, I mean it is already there on Android and Apple, and work is going on for Windows as well. So Windows, I think, will be able to come out in another few months. So it is more, we've tried to kind of make it platform agnostic from technology perspective. Right, so there is this question from Ganesh, which is that he works in the supply chain domain and have some of the customers warehousing logistics who use mobile applications, but overall there is a resistance to adapt to mobile devices, primarily due to perceived security threats. How does Mobility Pundits overcome these security threats? For example, it is easy to lose a mobile device and sensitive data. I understand your question, Ganesh, and I think I understand the concern. See, the key is, of course, that data as such, we don't recommend to be kept on the device per se. Essentially, we are talking about replicating, uploading the data to a central server. Okay, from central server, of course, you could control access to the device, using mechanisms tying up with user ID, password, and tying up the user ID and passwords to that specific IMEI. So even if the person kind of loses that device, as long as you know that, okay, this particular device has been lost, you can simply kind of go on and unplug it, okay, and it does not, no longer, one cannot use, let's say, given apps to upload or download any specific data or check any statuses. And of course, these days, most of the enterprise applications, they have these security features inbuilt, which involve encrypt. When, let's say, the data is being uploaded, it is uploaded in encrypted format, so on and so forth. So I hope it gives you some idea. Then there is a question from Parimal Kumar, which says, kindly also clarify how is the technology shall be useful for high-ticket loans or SME loans, home loans, where their valuations field investigation. I think I'm sure you would have got an idea that Zap-In brings together the data part of it together, okay, the document part of it, okay. So essentially things like where we have field investigations and legal technicalities involved, you're talking about field visitation reports. So Zap-In can be used there. You could, let's say, you are inspecting a property for a home loan. So you can click pictures, and upload it along with the rest of the documentation. For high-ticket loans, this impacts from the customer experience perspective, right? You could capture all the data on the typically first time, right? So helps from that perspective, and then at the convenience of the customer. So from that perspective, it's, I think, quite helpful. Is there any other application similar to Zap-In? There are, of course, some applications from imaging solution providers, which are somewhat similar, but typically we haven't really come across something which ties very tightly data or documents together. We have seen applications which would help in decentralized document capture through mobile devices. And then we have seen applications which would typically focus on data capture. Tying these two together, having the advanced imaging functionalities built in, and then a complementing solution in the backend to provide end-to-end automation. I think that's what perhaps from the Newgen perspective or the solution perspective, the USP is. There is this question from Igneshwaran, which says, no, sorry, it is from Praveen, I guess. It says, can it optimize the image size and resolution? Yes, we do. I mean, the application, it does optimizes the image size, resolution. It can convert the colored images to black and white so that the image size is controlled, at the same time is readable. So we tried to kind of do all those things before, of course, it is uploaded. And the idea is, of course, to enable the image being as optimum in size, at the same time readable for someone to kind of work on it. There is a question from Shashank, which is, does the mobility take care of regulatory compliance requirements as well, and how? Yes, it typically does ties into your KYC norms. Okay, so what document are you capturing? Their details. You can have the validations built in terms of what are the accepted KYC documentations required, the minimum number of documentations required for specific products. All those validations can be built in here. There is this question on the validation from Ronak, who I believe has left, so my apologies to him for delayed answer. but his question was on slide 21 as to if a user can Photoshop and create checkbook. Typically, I mean, we have not seen things like that, but yes, it is a genuine threat. It of course is controlled by the microcodes, okay, and so if the image is not capturing the microcode correctly, then of course it doesn't pass through. And then typically what banks would do, they would still have, while they can offer this capturing functionality in the front end, they typically would have a maker or checker kind of setup in the back end to check from the compliance perspective. So I guess we are done with the present questions. I think there is one more question from Preeti, which is about CRM. So brief idea on CRM. So CRM, of course, from I would talk about how Newgen and the solutions around mobility complement the CRM applications. See, there is a lot of data which is lying there in the CRM applications typically. The point is as to how well we use that data, and then how do we tie up the analytics around that data to the convenience of the customers, and of course for better revenue and control of our operational costs. So that's where I think Newgen plays a role, okay, by bringing in the analytics part of it, mobility part of it, and the automation of back-end operations. Praveen asks, is this question as much secure as well as the applications? Yes, it is. I mean, it does comply to the standard security compliances. So I guess we are done with the questions and answers.
Yes, Ritesh, we are over with the questions for now. As we have lost many of the questions in the way, I would try to share them if we have somewhere saved the document with us offline, and you would be able to answer them from your end as well. So due to the time constraint, I request you to take them offline, which I will share with you through email. And if you have any closing lines for now, you can give it right away to the audience.
I think, I mean, we've, I think even in the question and answers, people have talked about certain reservations around adoption of these technologies. My only remark is from that perspective that, see, it is no longer something optional. Okay, some of the early adopters, of course, have used it to set the benchmark, but it is essentially something which people need to adopt quite fast rather than later. We have, of course, seen the kind of research going around, and the user demographics which we are encountering these days is heavily into the mobile applications and usage of mobility. So it is, of course, eventually a no-brainer from the usage perspective. From technology perspective, of course, Newgen plays a very key role and has the right set of solutions to complement such initiatives. So yeah, that would, and I would kind of thank everyone who has joined us and taken out time for their presence, and of course the interesting question and answer session we had.
Okay, I'm really thankful to our guest speaker for conducting this wonderful webinar today. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Ritesh, for taking time out. Have a great day ahead.